Our second gospel reading for today comes from John chapter 11. And it's the story of Lazarus and his two sisters, Mary and Martha, and what happened on the occasion of Lazarus' death. We're going to pick up the story right after Jesus has learned of the news. He had been asked to come and heal Lazarus, but Jesus was slow in responding. And what happens right after his death is Jesus arrives in the town of Bethany. The longer story, so if you want, you can feel free to sit down. When Jesus arrived at Bethany, he was told that Lazarus had been in his grave for 4 days. Bethany was only a few miles down the road from Jerusalem, and many of the people had come to console Martha and Mary in their loss. When Martha got word that Jesus was coming, she went to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died. But even now I know that God will give you whatever you ask." Jesus told her, "Your brother will rise again." "Yes," Martha said, "I know he will rise when everyone else rises at that last day." And Jesus responded, "I am the resurrection and the life. Anyone who believes in me will live, even after dying. Everyone who lives in me and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this, Martha?" "Yes, Lord," she told him. "I have always believed you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one who has come into the world from God." Then she returned to Mary, and she called Mary aside from the mourners and told her, "The teacher is here and wants to see you." So Mary immediately went to him. Jesus had stayed outside the village at a place where Martha met him. And when the people who were at the house who were consoling Mary saw her leave so hastily, they assumed she was going to Lazarus' grave to weep. So they followed her there. And when Mary arrived and saw Jesus, she fell at his feet and said, "Lord, if only you had been here, my brother would not have died." When Jesus saw her weeping and saw the other people wailing with her, a deep anger welled up within him, and he was deeply troubled. "Where have you put him?" he asked them. And they told him, "Lord, come and see." Then Jesus wept. The people who were standing nearby said, "See how much he loved him?" But some said, "This man healed a blind man. Couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?" Jesus was still angry as he arrived at the tomb. And a cave with a stone rolled across its entrance. "Roll the stone aside," Jesus told them. But Martha, the dead man's sister, protested, "Lord, he has been dead for 4 days. The smell will be terrible." And Jesus responded, "Didn't I tell you that you would see God's glory if you believed?" So they rolled the stone aside. And then Jesus looked up to heaven and said, "Father, thank you for hearing me. You always hear me. But I said it out loud for the sake of all these people standing here, so that they believe that you sent me." Then Jesus shouted, "Lazarus, come out!" And the dead man came out, his hands and feet bound in grave clothes, his face wrapped in headcloth. And Jesus told them, "Unwrap him and let him go." The Gospel of our Lord. Today we continue our summer worship series about the faith of women throughout the Bible. And this week we're focusing on Mary and Martha and their faith, and not just where their faith leads them, but how their faith grows and changes over time. We have 3 different stories that come from the life of Mary and Martha. Now the first story that we read from Luke is one that's familiar to many of us who are churchgoers. It's that one where Jesus is visiting the home of the two sisters, and one of them, Martha, is doing all of the work preparing food for an entourage of people that arrived with Jesus. Martha is doing what is expected of her, following the cultural norms and rules of the day. When she discovers that her sister Mary is not helping out, she gets angry. And she complains to Jesus, basically asking him to tell Mary to do her fair share. Jesus' response is one that is seen as confusing. He tells Martha, "Martha, Martha, you are worried and distracted by many things, but there is only one thing needed. Mary has chosen the better part, which will not be taken away from her." This response from Jesus is often misunderstood as a condemnation against Martha for not having the right priorities. Somehow Martha's choice to fix a meal was the wrong one. But what we do not always realize is that this story is told right after the parable of the Good Samaritan. We remember that parable, right? It's the one where, Jesus condemns those people who don't help out a stranger. So how is it that Martha's doing something wrong? She's doing the exact thing that Jesus instructed all of us to do in the parable of the Good Samaritan. I think the problem lies not in what Martha's doing, but in her attitude. You see, Martha is probably anxious and filled with a lot of worry because when Jesus arrives at her house, he is never alone. There's always a group of people, an entourage that comes with them. There is the disciples, and there's all 12 of them, but there's also the Pharisees and the teachers of the law and the religious leaders who want to see what Jesus is up to. And then there's all the hangers-on and the people who want a healing and stuff like that. He's never, hardly ever alone. And so Martha is worried about doing the things that are expected of her. And I'm sure that she gave a million hints to Mary to come help her out in the kitchen because she was struggling. And Mary probably ignored all of them. And this led Martha to a position of anger and resentment and leads her to condemn her sister for not helping out. And it was most likely this very attitude that Jesus is condemning. You see, both Martha and Mary have faith and they trust and they follow Jesus. But Martha's faith has led her to a place of anger and resentment towards others, where Mary's faith has led her to a place of crossing boundaries, of going to places where women aren't expected to go. She has no cultural business, so to speak, sitting at the feet of Jesus where only men are supposed to be gathered. Two faiths that lead people in two different spots, in two different directions. Jesus is responding to the anger that Martha has, not her choice necessarily to sit at his, to do the dishes and to prepare the meal and to serve her. The second scene that we see from them is when they're at the feet, when they're there with Lazarus. And Lazarus, when Lazarus dies, and they're gathered together in their home and they're mourning the death. The news had gone out to Jesus beforehand. So Jesus had plenty of time to get there, and he was late. And Lazarus has died. Mary and Martha are stricken with grief. They're torn about the loss of someone that they loved so dearly. And so Martha runs to meet Jesus before he even has a chance to come to their home. And now we see a different kind of faith in Martha. She's taken the correction of Jesus to heart. And she's shifted gears. And in her faith, we see her throwing away her mask and being a very real person and saying what is really on her heart. There's no acting the way the culture expects her to act. You can imagine the gasps and the shocks and the horror when she comes to Jesus and says, "Great Jesus, my brother's dead. If you had been here on time, he would have lived." Which is basically what she said. And I can imagine the response of the disciples when they heard this. How dare she correct Jesus? How dare she even hint that Jesus might have been late? Or he might have made a mistake? You can't do that. That's just wrong. He's the Messiah after all. He's the guy that's got it all together. He knows what he's doing. Yet all Martha is doing, and where her faith is leading her, is to voice the reality of her emotions and her grief and the questions that she has. It's led her to a good place. A place where Jesus does not get angry with her or to condemn her or to correct her. Leads her to a place where Jesus walks alongside with her and weeps with her and comforts her and is angered on her behalf at the way the people around her are treating both her and Mary. Mary, when she meets Jesus, has the same question, but Martha's faith is a little bit different. Because you notice that Martha has the audacity to ask for something bold, something unheard of. Jesus, he's been dead 4 days, but even now, I know who you are. If you ask God, God will give something incredible to you. She hints it. She's maybe not courageous enough to ask it right out in literal words, but she's hinting at it all the same. Come on, Jesus, you can come through for me. You can do this. You're bold enough. You can ask God. God will give you anything you ask of him. That's what you said. She looked at Mary and her audacity to go and sit at the feet of Jesus when women weren't supposed to. And she said, well, maybe Jesus changes things. Maybe Jesus changes the way that we're supposed to act and view. And maybe we'll just throw off this mask and the ways that the culture's told us we're supposed to ask. And we'll start being real. We'll talk about our real emotions, our real feelings, and then we'll ask bold things of Jesus. And Jesus has compassion and comfort for Mary and Martha. He's angry at the way that the people are using the situation to manipulate their faith and tell them, oh, you should never put your faith in Jesus. Jesus should have been there to heal you, and he wasn't there for you. He's angered at the people around them and what they're doing and how they're trying to manipulate these two women. These women will not have it. They're connected to Jesus, and they've put their trust in Jesus. And the promise that Jesus gives them and gives all of us is that those of us who believe in him will one day rise again. The last scene that we have from the life of Mary and Martha and their faith comes from the very next chapter in John. And it's what happens a few days later after the resurrection of Lazarus. The resurrection of Lazarus was the last straw, and the religious leaders from that moment on had decided that they're going to kill Jesus. But Mary and Martha have a different attitude. Their response to the event is totally different. Jesus is back in the home of Mary and Martha. It's just a few days have gone by. And both of them are filled with gratitude, and both of them are going to display their thanks in powerful, unprecedented ways, incredible ways, in ways that just express who they are and who their values are. Martha is back in the kitchen, singing a song, happily serving a meal for Jesus and his entourage, and his entourage is still just as big. Mary is once again sitting at the feet of Jesus. This is the second time around. But this time, Martha's not condemning Mary. Mary's not upset at Martha. Mary breaks open a jar of expensive perfume and pours it onto the feet of Jesus. The disciples immediately react. They say, oh my goodness, what kind of smell is this? Who's done? Woman, how could you have done such a thing? This place is small. Could you not have understood what you were doing? And of course, Judas quips in, you need to condemn her, Jesus. Wouldn't it have been better to sell this perfume and give the money to the poor or something? The disciples are criticizing Mary. And all Mary is doing, in her own way, in the best way she knows how, is following her faith and allowing it to express thanks and gratitude to Jesus. Martha's doing the same, just in a very different way, because she's a different person. But both of them are discovering ways to allow their faith to trust Jesus, to connect to Jesus, to say thank you. And it's a powerful story because they begin in different spots. And although the expression of their faith is different, it's still very much centered around experiencing the power of Jesus in their life and expressing the gratitude that they have. There's a lot of lessons that we can learn from Mary and Martha and their faith. One is that simply the correction, sometimes Jesus is going to do a course correction in our life. Sometimes he's going to make adjustments because our faith can lead us. Sometimes when we take our faith and we don't put it in Jesus, but allow our culture, our world to shape and mold it, it can lead us into places where we shouldn't be. And so we need to accept these course corrections from Jesus like Mary does, or like Martha does. And that's a very simple, good lesson. We can also learn about their desire to want to serve and to care for others and connect with Jesus, or their desire to want to give thanks and gratitude to Jesus. We can learn about getting rid of our masks and not allowing acting in ways that we're supposed to act, or ways that the people around us demand us to act, but instead to act as our real selves, expressing our real desires, being devoted to having real, authentic relationships. There's an authenticity about their faith that is amazing because they remove the barriers, they do things boldly that the world tells them that they shouldn't do. All of it focused on experiencing the power of Christ in their lives. Not just on Sundays, not just one day a year, every day as they experience the power of their relationship with Christ. Amen? Our takeaways for today? Very simple ones. The faith of Mary and Martha leads them to throwing away masks and allowing their real selves to be present in their relationship with Jesus. And the second one, The faith of Mary and Martha leads them to find incredible ways to give thanks to God in their attitudes, words, and deeds. Let's stand for our Song of the Day.